You're back tonight with us here on In Focus, Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405. Thanks for staying on. President Cyril Ramaphosa has finally signed a bill into law which prevents municipal officials from holding political office in parties. It's an effort to tackle corruption, improving confidence in government. For more on this, we're joined by the Local Government Municipal Systems Amendment Bill, or rather, we're joined by the South African Cities Network CEO, Sithole Mbanga. Good to have you with us, and thank you very much for your time. The problem of, for example, municipal managers and maybe senior officials in municipalities playing a role within political structures, how has that impacted on the performance of municipalities, and I suppose particularly people pointing to questions of corruption?
Tawagu, good evening, and thanks for having me on your show. I think what we have experienced in the last couple of years of institutionalizing democratic local government has been an increase in what you call poor political and administrative interface. In other words, the interaction between elected and appointed officials that are supposed to be administering and governing and managing the local government institution has been relatively poor. Now, part and parcel of the attributes to that particular problem has been that has been a realization that has been conducted through research in particular, that you find sometimes in a municipal institution someone who's an elected representative, say a mayor, is working with a municipal manager who is also belonging to a particular political party or to the same political party. And in that political party, the same people are high-ranking officials. Now, the tendency or the unfortunate and unintended consequences of that has been that conflicts that normally are taking place in the political organization normally come and play themselves in the municipal institution. Now, that has had a very negative effect, unfortunately, on the stability of the municipal institution. I mean, to a point where in certain instances there will be no functioning local government institution. And I think that's what this attempt of what has been now popularly known as the depoliticization of municipalities mean.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we welcome it. It's a step in the right direction. And I think for us in the local government space and practitioners, this is one big step towards professionalizing people that are working in the municipal governance system.
Now, to say that it's good and well that the officials are depoliticized, but ultimately people, for example, who hold executive authority, they are politically appointed. So it's more often than not the mayors themselves, for example, who are holding political power that exert undue influence on these accounting officers to perform certain things. And ultimately, it's these accounting officers who get arrested, while the political appointees, they go scot-free. So depoliticizing these guys is not necessarily going to be the solution to the kind of challenges that we see.
Well, for sure. I think on its own, it cannot be a solution. But I think what this thing does is it begins to induce a level of maturity in the behavior of those that are either appointed or elected into office. By the way, there is no appointed municipal official that should do something that is against the law because there is undue political pressure. Ultimately, if you are the municipal manager or whatever role you play in the municipality, you have to take accountability for the decisions that you make. What politically appointed officials in the municipalities do is to bring their policy prescripts into the municipal institution because anyway, they are the ones that would have been elected on the basis of their political manifesto that they would have promised to the citizenry when it was elections time. And that goes for across all the spheres of government that we're talking about. So it's not that you shouldn't have political influence. Political influence must be there because political influence drives the policy that would have been prescribed in the manifesto of those organizations. But the issue is that whatever you are doing as a municipal official, you must do it within the framework of the law. And if you do it outside of the framework of the law, and then the reasons that you provide for having acted in that way, i.e. out of the framework of the law, is that there was undue political influence, then you have to be accountable for that. This thing is quite simple. If you are an appointed official and there is undue political influence, all you have to do is to ask those that are providing or that are pressurizing you to write it down, to write the instruction down, so that you are able to then have the evidence that says, I am acting as a consequence of this particular undue pressure. And that's what you'll be able to provide when the Auditor General comes and checks your books, or if it is a criminal offense, when you have to defend yourself in court. So it cannot be an excuse that there was undue political pressure. Yeah.
Another significant feature, I suppose, of the bill, that while it is pretty much not very different from the one which was passed in 2011, this one, however, does give a little bit more oversight power to the province in terms of the appointment of senior managers at local government. Is that a good thing?
So one of the things that I have been grappling with, I think since the initiation of this exercise in the government system, and I suspect it's something that I just generally grapple with, is I think it's good to pass legislation and put laws in place because you want to be able to regulate a behavior. For me, the question is the difficulty with which that has to be implemented, right? Mm-hmm. So it's easy to put a legislation in place, but it's the implementation that is always the challenge. And even in this particular instance, I don't think it's going to be just simple and easy. But there's a new legislation that says if you are a senior municipal official, then you can not hold political office in your political organization. Firstly, the Constitution guarantees you political participation. That's number one. So you cannot be barred from participating politically. Yeah. But all this, what it says is that you ought to not be playing an active role in the executive of that particular political party. Yeah. So the issue for me is going to be how easy or how difficult it is going to be for the system to implement the law. Whether it is implemented through the conduit of a provincial government that must conduct oversight. And by the way, other people in the municipal and local government fraternity are also asking the same question. Is this something that is only prevalent in the local government space? What about the provinces? Because the same issues or the same challenges and behaviors of unsavory political and administrative interface that you see in the local government space are also prevalent in other spheres of government as well.
Right, yeah. Right. Three things that I'm reflecting on that are coming to mind. One is the fact that there is, of course, also the permanency of senior managers. That is a unique feature also of this particular new bill. It's good and well where you're saying if, for example, a particular faction of the ANC wins elections at the elective conference, the new incoming mayor should not then fire the senior managers because they were with another faction. So the senior managers' position remains secure. It doesn't matter who changes office politically. You would say that is probably a good thing in that sense. It might also maybe be a good thing, certainly when the ANC changes power and another organization comes in, that those jobs are secured. But does it continue to guarantee service delivery? Is there no prospect of sabotage, for example, in an instance like that? Because you will have officials who, as you put it, are members of the political party. They believe in the policies of that party. They believe in the ideology of that party. But now you have a different political power coming into that municipality.
Well, I personally, I think it should not matter ultimately that there is a change in the political office. It shouldn't be that because there's a change in political office and then automatically that triggers that those that are in the administrative office must be fired. As long as they're doing their job according to what it is that they would have been instructed by those that are in power, as long as they are delivering against their performance contracts that they would have signed with those that are in political office. Otherwise, how do you explain that? It becomes victimization. That being said, we cannot escape the fact that when people come into political office, they want to see change. Sometimes it's because they are frustrated that what they want to see happening is happening at a slow pace. So it's not just an ideological issue. So in that instance, they then want to make shifts and changes. But it can't be that those shifts and changes are as a consequence of wanting to victimize those that are in administrative office because you disagreed with them or whatever the case might be. Hence, this issue of the professionalization of this local government sphere, right? That we, I think, are yearning for a situation where the local government sphere will one day be professionalized, particularly at the higher level of that sphere, the executive, the management, executive committees of the various municipal institutions. So ultimately, it should not be about victimization. It should be because you are wanting to change something, maybe the pace at which things are happening, perhaps the choices that have been made when you come into political office are not the choices that you think are going to bring positive change for the benefit of society. And I think the one thing that I would like to add, Thabo, is that, you know, I think one of the things that we need to start being able to do as we strengthen our democracy through the introduction and improvement in legislation and policy is to involve society. You know, I think one of the mistakes that we have made was to sideline society and think that government is only, or the public sector is only for the public sector, when in fact we should have taken the ethos with which we delivered the project democracy into our country, into the institutions of governance, where we include civil society or society general, where we meaningfully involve the business sector. I mean, the business sector is part and parcel of your citizenry, where we infuse innovation on how things ought to be happening. So as long as it's not victimization, I don't think it should be a problem.
I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. That is the CEO of the South African Cities Network, Sithole Mbanga.